Hello everybody, welcome back to the Cranky Films channel. Today we are reacting to part 2 of the epic of Serina videos by
Wow.
Curious Archive. Once again, we got requested to do another one of these, so here we are doing it again. Very
Nice.
interesting concept from last time with the...
Oh yeah.
What were the birds again? I forgot the birds. But, yeah, the bird-only world and how they evolve and become
They're really cool.
diverse.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice ones. The carnivores, the stupid lobster looking.
Yeah, Larry the Lobster, you
love
gotta
that.
love it.
Larry the Lobster, oh my god.
Damn right. So yeah, let's go ahead and get straight into this video. It's 13 minutes long, and let's see how this develops.
Welcome back to Curious Archive.
Hello.
This video is the second part of a series exploring the incredible speculative evolution project of Serina, the
Canaries.
world of birds.
Right.
Serina was created by Dylan Beta, an exceptional artist and world builder. I have links below where you can follow and support his work. When we left off, Serina was just beginning to warm at the end of the Cryocene era. Now it is the Thermocene, a hothouse world of rising sea levels and increasing volcanic activity that has led to some extinctions, especially within the warming oceans, where large animals like the balloons have sadly died out. In much of the world, however, newly evolved species are enjoying this new climate. 100 million years into this grand experiment, birds have evolved to fill virtually every niche this moon has to offer. In the warm forest, a descendant of the Seralops of the Cryocene ambles through the woods. Their feathers have become coats of short fuzz, and their beaks have given way to fleshy snouts. Indeed, these creatures look quite a bit like the non-avian dinosaurs of old. In size and behavior, however, the animals are almost analogous to an earth deer. Elsewhere in the warm forests, the Seralops have become the more specialized horned omnivores known as the Ornitharies. The beaks of these animals are now little more than incisors within an almost mammalian-looking snout. And in the canopy above, flightless, monkey-like mucks swing from the branches, which, despite their size, are actually an offshoot of the massive Cryocene Cerastriders. But the larger Cerastriders are still with us in the Thermocene, just changed since we last saw them. Pachyderm Cerastriders are huge, armored titans that have traded in their feathers for defensive spikes. Later in the Thermocene, some Cerastriders would specialize further, becoming heavily armored Goliaths called cragbacks. These bony plates help the animals deter large predators, primarily the tyrant Serins, bone-crushing hunters who have endured beyond the Cryocene. In this age of dinosaur-like megafauna, one might be paying little attention to the achievements of the mudwickets, which are now called the trivets and have become truly terrestrial fish. Fully independent from the water, the trivets have spread out into the jungles, with their tails specializing into a fully functional foot. This strange tripod-like walking strategy isn't perhaps the most efficient just yet, but evolution is blind and the trivets are making it work. Another easily overlooked group from the later Thermocene are the bumblets, small quadrupedal burrowers. At only 7 inches in length, these tiny tunnelers don't appear destined for greatness, but times will soon change. Elsewhere during the Thermocene, the waters, largely empty of megafauna due to Cryocene extinctions, now represent a unique opportunity for any species brave enough to venture into the depths. For example, gigaducks are a type of Cerastriders that have become semi-aquatic, adopting the webbed feet and lake-paddling lifestyle of ducks on Earth, just on a much larger scale, as gigaducks weigh up to a ton. Since newborn gigaducks have trouble foraging in deep waters, mother gigaducks care for their chicks during their development, often carrying them on their back. In deeper waters, you can find the porpoints, a highly varied classification of aquatic birds. These sleek swimmers evolved later than the balloons, which is why they weren't wiped out by the Cryocene extinctions. The overall body shape and flipper-derived fins make some porpoints resemble penguins, whereas the larger ones seem similar to a porpoise or dolphin. In the depths of the oceans, the sword whales now flourish, gigantic descendants of Cryocene sword sharks. These giants now have larger mouths that allow them to feed upon vast schools of plankton and reach incredible sizes. While these sword whales are gentle giants, the gigadon, a variety of sword whales, are decidedly not. These orca whale-sized predators don't just possess sharp jaws, but also unusually keen minds for fish. They use these large brains to coordinate pack hunting, aided by the reflective markings on their skin that they can use incredibly as a form of basic communication. location. Elsewhere in the depths, we have the less
Killer whale.
intelligent and far less elegant looking lumphead
Goodness.
grumpus, a creature that might have the best name
The
of
grumpus.
anything on Serina.
Is it
These
grumpy?
slow-moving mollusk
Is it
eaters
grumpy?
have evolved elongated fin-like structures on their faces that help them navigate the pitch-black waters while they search for food.
Okay,
A
like
very
sensors.
unique-looking species
cool.
indeed. Leaving the waters, the isolated Cryan Islands have also changed quite a bit since our last visit. The islands themselves are smaller due to erosion and rising sea levels, and have become more tropical in climate. And the species populating these islands have also become far stranger.
Dude, my man's
Instead of
horns.
snuffalos and butcheraptors, you can now find creatures like
Oh,
the elephantines.
those are
truly
wild.
unique-looking
Those are little
birds with
trunks.
2 tentacle-like appendages that can grasp food and other objects. How did something like this possibly evolve from a bill? Well, elephantines are descended from burrowers, whose bills became fleshier and more flexible to aid with rooting through the dirt for food. Over millions of years, these bills became softer and more muscular, eventually splitting into 2 distinct trunk-like apparatuses. And so, one of the strangest
Evolution's
creatures
wild.
on Serina emerged.
It is.
The perhaps somewhat less impressive cousins of the elephantines on these islands are the snuffles. Small, soft-snouted nocturnal birds with sensitive whiskers that aid in their nighttime hunts for food. One
Platypus.
offshoot of this group, the water
Oh my
snuffles,
God.
has something even stranger than whiskers sprouting
Water
from the ends of
snuffles.
its
It's a
bill.
mustache and a
Fleshy,
beard.
finger-like appendages, similar in some ways to the elephant's trunks.
weird.
A really unique-looking creature. And in the midst of this incredible peak of biodiversity on the Cryan Islands, the oceans, and the mainlands, the tribits, the terrestrial descendants of the mudwicket fishes, have in the late
It looks
Thermocene
like a
become
koala.
strange 3-legged organisms
Sort
called
of.
hoppers. The adaptation of these unique animals into land dwellers has been a true achievement, and they're now thriving in the warm temperatures. Still, the hoppers are only about the size of a rat. It would take a mass extinction for them to ever become a dominant species on Serina.
Feels bad.
Which is exactly what happened next.
Easy.
A
Oh my
rise in global
God.
temperatures,
Okay.
volcanic
Volcano.
Conveniently
eruptions,
enough.
We out here.
and ocean anoxia creates a runaway effect that results in the worst mass extinction event in the moon's history.
Jesus.
Simply called Armageddon, the end Thermocene extinction would obliterate over 99% of all life on Serina.
Damn.
But this cataclysm was
Okay.
not the end.
Volcanoes
Eventually,
are
Armageddon
wild.
would pass, and the sun would rise on the Pangeacene. It is now 10 million years after this mass extinction, and the fire and brimstone are already a distant memory for many species. In this era, all of Serina's major landmasses have come together to form a single supercontinent. The climate has somewhat stabilized, and the survivors of Armageddon are beginning to rediversify. But the inheritors of this new world are quite
That must be
different
crazy
from its
being the
old
last, like,
monarchs.
of your species.
If one explores the continental forests of this
Just had
red
to
moon,
repopulate.
one would find far stranger life than ever before. Lumbering amongst the trees
my man.
comes a terrestrial muck, a descendant of one of their
a
smaller
muck.
ancestors. These hook-clawed creatures might look odd, but they're far from the strangest new forms of life here. From the water comes a descendant of the water snuffle, one of the only species
Okay,
from the
let's see how
Cryan
that
Islands
looks.
to survive, thanks to its aquatic adaptations. The finger-like tendrils on the ends of their beaks are becoming more pronounced, and may soon become even more complex. Out of a nearby riverbank erupts a
Oh, no.
bumblet, the sole survivor
man.
out of all the vivas that for millions of years dominated the planet. It's fascinating that out of all its grand cousins, thanks to
Poor
its
Mudskip.
burrowing lifestyle, the bumblet is now the sole representative of their great evolutionary line. And at the edge of the forest, a tribbit
God.
here, the much-changed descendant of the tribbits, and by extension the mudwickets,
Oh my God, that's the
stalks for
tribbit?
prey.
Tribbit
They've
and
become
mudwicket.
a muscular, dog-like carnivore with a powerful
no.
hind leg that allows them to make great lunges at prey. Once at the bottom of
Oh,
Serina's
no.
food chain, their time has now finally come. Over
Why
the
does it
next
look like an
several million
arm?
years, through the early and middle Pangeacene, members of this group called the Cainotheres would prove to be the most successful
Cainotheres.
and prominent large predators on Serina.
Dang.
The author writes that the predator's flexible spine, which moves in an up and down arc, works almost like a spring, collecting energy as the creature contracts
oh,
its
it needs to
leg
go
and
fast.
releasing it as it extends, making for an efficient running gait. It's hard to imagine that these dominant, warm-blooded, furry organisms were once fish brought in to be the canary's food source. Another descendant
So there
of the
was a
terrestrial
fish.
fish has taken to the trees, becoming the somewhat alarming-looking handfish. These
I'd be
creatures look like a
terrified.
cross between a monkey, a
That
frog,
is
and a
kinda
spider, with long fractaline digits,
Yeah.
well-suited to
You know what?
climbing and
I dig
holding
it.
onto branches.
That's my spirit
Later in the
animal.
Pangaeocene, descendants
Imagine that
from
in
the
the
same
corner of your
group
room.
would
It's like
even conquer
that's like
the
a
air,
bat.
with the tribats now taking to the sky alongside the
Yeah, the
birds,
tribat.
the first group of vertebrates on Serina to independently develop powered flight. While their wing design isn't quite as efficient as birds in the open sky, tribats are the most common animals of the tropical forests. But the birds are not down for the
Jesus.
count just yet.
Jesus.
Indeed, several million years into the Pangaeocene,
massive.
flying birds have managed to reach sizes never before seen in their history. These majestic giants are called archangels, the descendants of
Oh,
small
of
tree-dwelling
course.
ancestors who outlasted the Thermocene extinction and then rapidly grew to sizes rivaling the largest pterosaurs.
That's
Scampering
crazy. You
nearby
probably
on the
ride
open
it.
plains are herds of cerazels,
You
a
know,
descendant of
Archangel
the
does
same
fit.
avian Armageddon survivor as the archangels. Those cerazels have become swift-footed grazers. They are marked with bold, contrasting patterns of stripes and spots, which likely serve to hide their outlines when moving in large groups, just as is the case for zebra on our
There's a
own
zebra!
planet. But the cerazels' dominance on the plains wouldn't last. In the later Pangaeocene, they'll be edged out by the circuagadonts, a highly specialized group of tribotheres that are unrecognizable compared to their fish ancestors. The circuagadonts
Yeah,
possess
so why don't they
specialized
evolve
teeth
from
that
fish?
allow
fact
them
they
to
ha-
eat a
the
wider
fact that
variety
he
of grasses
actually
than
chewed their anatomy
cerazels,
inside.
allowing them to eventually usurp the cerazels' place on the plains. Indeed, beyond the Pangaeocene, it's not megafauna like the cerazels or archangels that will contribute the most to the legacy of birds on Serina. In time, the humble bumblets move above ground, becoming a
Humble
group of
I love
foragers
those,
called
dude.
bumble
I
badgers.
love those,
And in
dude.
the
That-
game of
that's-
life,
those are
they're a
cool.
new player to keep an eye on. Also furthering the legacy of birds,
Ew.
though taking it in an admittedly strange direction, are the excellently named mittens.
These guys
These
look more
descendants
like
of the water
aliens every
snuffle
time.
have developed a mobile set of tentacles on their snouts, which they
That's
use to
gross.
manipulate food items. The somewhat Cthulhu-looking creatures are indeed
Cthulhu.
quite intelligent and are starting to use basic tools. In time, the mittens branch off
Oh,
into the
God.
Dude, they're
plains-dwelling
all beat
bludgebirds,
their
animals
enemies
that
to
use
death.
Bop
crude
us on the
weapons
head.
to aid in hunting.
Don't tell me they're
These
gonna be the
creatures
equivalent
are
of
clearly
humans.
fairly intelligent,
yeah, that's what
perhaps
it
even
said.
one of the most intelligent species ever to
Now, they don't
exist
even
on
have arms.
Serina. However, despite appearances, they're not actually smarter than, say, crows or great apes from our own world. Indeed, to find the first true example of high intelligence on Serina, one must look elsewhere. Watching the bludgebirds from the branches are fork-tailed babbling jays. Unlike the
Babbling
bludgebird,
jays.
this small
How
species is
much
not
do they babble?
extraordinary for its appearance. Furthermore, they are a very young species, having only been in existence for no more than 4,000 years. Yet
Damn.
babbling jays are easily the smartest creatures yet to arise on Serina. Possessing an incredible capacity for tool crafting, language, and critical thinking, jays even produce art using bark and stone, and possess verbal
These are the future
superstitions and a
humans.
developing culture.
Probably.
Sadly, this brief glimmer of brilliance wouldn't last.
Shredder.
In a relative blink of an eye, the harsh desert environment that spurred the development of their keen intellect would shift once again, and the jays would prove that no species, no matter their intelligence, is immune to extinction. Looking forwards beyond the Pangaeocene, it is neither the babbling jays nor the bludgebirds that will continue to carry the torch of intelligence onwards. Instead, high intelligence
that?
will arise in some of the most unexpected species. Part 3 of this series will cover the emergence of true sapients on Serina.
Oh,
but for now,
okay.
that's all the time we have.
Very
If
close
you
to
enjoyed
humans.
learning about Serina,
on,
consider following
okay.
and supporting Dylan Beta using the links
Yes.
below.
The original
Also,
video
thanks for
below, too.
watching. If you enjoyed this entry, please lend your support, and like, subscribe, and hit the notification icon to stay up to date on
Same.
all things curious. See you in the next video.
That just
Bam.
seems all
Oh,
interesting.
dude, once again,
That was part
really
2.
good video.
Yeah.
Yep,
Oh, yeah,
really good
super
video.
interesting.
We
I-
need to watch part 3.
I just find it interesting how stuff are evolving, but then they die right away.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The sleeping Mother Nature's harsh.
oh yeah.
Mother Nature's
I like
so
the-
harsh.
I did like one of them.
Which one did
The
you like?
archangels.
Oh, you like the archangels?
Yeah, those were wild. Those were
And
wild.
somehow their name actually makes sense.
Yeah?
They do look it.
They have that giant wings like angels.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Oh,
Well,
if
anyway,
you
guys. No, Zeus, I am talking.
no, oh,
No,
okay.
just kidding. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you're just standing there and they just come and get you, you could just say that the archangel took you to heaven.
True, true. Well, anyways, that was the Epic Serena Part 2. Very interesting. So wild. All these came from canaries, and birds are evolving to stupid flying animals and all that jazz. Stupid volcanoes going off. It's just such a unique concept.
Oh yeah.
And that's pretty much it. So if you guys liked the video, go ahead and leave a like. If you want to sub, go ahead and sub. Remember, if you want to request any videos, leave it down in the comment section below, and we'll see if we get to it or not. Okay? So we've been Cranky Films. And remember, stay cranky.